Welcome to another episode of the Babble Station. And again, parang wala na naman tayo sa usual studio natin. Bahay mo ba to? Saan ba to?
As much as I'd like to claim that this is my house, we are actually being hosted right now by our special guest. Maybe you can introduce yourselves.
Yes. Easy, Lomi, thank you for having me. My name is Barchan Hontiveros. I'm the General Manager of Modularity Home. We've been in this business for more than a decade now. We started out with a brand called Scavolini, which is the biggest kitchen brand in Italy or in Europe. We progressed into different brands, and this showroom right now focuses on Valcucine, which is another kitchen brand which is considered the top in the market worldwide. So that's what we do. I mean, we focus on systems, primarily kitchens. But then we also do closets, bathrooms, TV systems, cabinets. Yeah, so that's what we do.
So questions here, Brian.
Yeah.
Why kitchens? What pushed you to enter this parang industry?
I think I can answer that in two ways. So first, our family business has been in the kitchen field for a long time. Parang 40, 50 years already. We've been bringing in Elba, which is a kitchen appliance brand. So I was working there for the family for a time. So it's related to that. But instead of selling kitchen appliances or equipment, now we're doing kitchen cabinets. The second way I wanted to explain it was it's due to the fact that I love design and I like meeting people. So unlike in the appliance business, we're actually just pushing boxes to dealers or appliance stores.
Yeah.
In this field, we meet architects, interior designers, final customers or end users who actually use the product. So it's very custom. So it's a very exciting field for me. I really wanted to become an architect before. But due to circumstances, I chose a different field. So now that I'm in my 40s or during my 30s, parang at least the passion in design was already fulfilled by doing this kind of business.
Pero anyone naman can design, diba? Especially when you're talking about parang kitchens or home design, parang free naman lahat. Parang hindi naman siya exclusive lang to architects, diba?
Yeah, but I think it takes like a certain skill kasi, or like a certain eye na you have to refine. So I guess that's why maybe over time na-develop din yung interest nyo of it. So, kasi you're kind of like exposed to it on a regular basis. Pero how did it develop yung interest nyo on the design aspect? Was it a frustration of always doing like the technical side of it, like yung appliances? Or parang was that complementary?
I think it's a complementary thing. It's a very positive experience coming from appliances. Kasi even up to today, after designing, numerous kitchens, it all starts with the appliances. So
That's
like
true.
yesterday, we spoke to a client. We had to ask them, what do you plan to do with this kitchen? Parang, are you gonna do like hardcore cooking talaga? Or are you just gonna entertain, show kitchen, mag-init-init lang ng konti? Do you like to bake? Parang there's a whole laundry list of questions that we ask clients, but it starts with the appliances. And then you build around it. So that's the exciting part. Kasi thanks to our exposure to architects and designers like yourselves, we're able to see different aesthetics. So we also try to understand the personality of each client. Parang hindi siya cookie cutter.
Yeah.
So each client has a different personality. If you want the client who's very cutting edge, we can do a super modern design. If you have a client na galing sa ibang country na medyo mas classical yung background, or like an American based expat, for example, parang yung design niya mas country. So parang that's how it progresses.
Pero if I'm not mistaken, you're also limited to certain restrictions, right? Kasi you're also carrying a brand. So how do you manage to make it not cookie cutter, but also at the same time working within the parameters na sineset sa inyo ng brand?
That's a very good question. And I think it's a matter of really explaining to clients what we can do and what we cannot do. But all these brands that we work with, specifically Scavolini, they started out as carpenters. So ibig sabihin, parang before they progressed into brands, parang they were already doing like very customized cabinetry. So from that experience, they already knew, ano ba yung most common denominator in terms of the modules, the sizes, the functionality. So to be very honest with you guys, parang the limitation is very few. Parang we have an unlimited array of tools to work with to be able to create a very customized product. Siguro lang yung mas complicated is when clients talk to, siguro let's say may feng shui expert. And then the modules, which is yung width ng each cabinet, sometimes there's like 6, 7, 8 options. But if they want something that's in between those options, like a 67.5 centimeters or so, yun, mas challenging na. We can do it still.
Really?
Pero each time we do that, there's a customization charge. Yun lang yung limitation. But overall, I think we're pretty free in terms of what we want to achieve.
Right. The reason bakit gusto ko yung parang idea of the kitchen or any other part of the house being in modules kasi no, I'm not sure if it's the same with you pero when I design a house, for example, or when I plan a house, yung kitchen, iniiwan ko siyang, hindi naman blank, pero medyo blank kasi more than anything, more than any other space, parang siya yung unsure yung client, ano talaga gusto niya until the very last minute.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially if they're into cooking.
yeah, especially if they're into cooking.
Yeah.
So, iniiwan ko siyang blank kasi I'm sure there's gonna be 5 different versions of that space. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think yung pinaka-important sa each house, yung pinaka-critical is, of course, the master bedroom, pero also like the living, dining, and kitchen area, which is also a culmination of different people using it.
Yeah.
I remembered, sir, I actually watched Mod Talks. You have a podcast, which maybe, I think it's a webinar series, which we can talk about later.
Yes.
Maybe. Pero I watched your episode with Architect Denise.
Yes.
You were talking about Home with a Purpose, if I'm not mistaken. That's the name of the episode. And then you, one of the key points that I really remember was that it's so hard to design the living, dining, and kitchen area, specifically the kitchen, because of the fact that there are so many users
Yes.
That
who
is true.
have different needs.
Yes.
So you're designing it for the parents, you're designing it for the kids.
Yeah.
So they all have to kind of work within their needs.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting thing about people designing kitchens because they have to balance na it's a workable space for different types of people and different uses.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's also part of the Philippine or Asian culture wherein parang it's big families, diba? Or extended family, parang the grandparent, the parent, parang 3 generations sometimes lives in one house. I'm sure you guys experience the same thing when you're designing a house, daming rooms.
Yeah.
So each room, has a user that has a say in the common spaces, like the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the kitchen is like the heart of the home. So literally, when you go home, you go to the kitchen. Parang yun yung meeting space ba sa gitna ng house talaga. So we also experience that when we invite clients. Parang there's like 5, 6 family members and each member has a say. So it's very difficult to pigeonhole or to formulate like ano ba direction natin. One wants gray, one wants wood. Parang pati finishes, parang confusing din for them eh.
Yeah.
So, but I also agree with what you said, Izzy. Parang you keep the space blank. Maybe for the kitchen consultant like us, and we appreciate that. Kasi if you put like a placeholder there in the architectural, engineering, mechanical plans, minsan yung contractor yun yung susundin eh.
Has that happened before?
It happens all the time. Which I'm not too, like, I have no control over it. Kasi when the clients come to us, parang buo na yung structure. We're talking about ginagawa na yung bubong, ganyan. So by the time that the clients come to us and they tell us, okay, we're into wine. Or parang, I don't want to hand wash. I want to use a dishwasher. Kasi mas hygienic, for example, diba? I want to put the water filter. Parang lahat yan after the fact na.
Oo nga.
Yeah.
So, the architectural, engineering, mechanical plans versus our technical plans that we create, automatically conflicting na yan.
Okay, so what do you guys
So,
do pag ganun?
No, we create also another set of technical plans, and then we submit it to the contractor, to the architect. Pero nangyayari, tik-tik na yan. Tik-tik
Yeah.
dito, you tik-tik doon. So parang, we also appreciate sometimes when architects and designers come to us early on in the game, during design development pa lang. And we try to invite the clients as early as possible so that they're in that frame of mind na, ano ba kailangan natin? Kasi it's all about planning it, diba?
Yeah.
All these things, if we don't really plan it properly during the start pa lang, it will cause delays din for everybody.
Difference kasi ng kitchen versus, for example, living room. Living room, minsan collection lang siya of pieces you can take out,
Yeah.
it's plug in.
Yeah.
Pag kitchen, minsan may built talaga
Built-in.
na, built-in talaga.
And yung engineering, like yung
Yeah,
the engineering
especially the
side of it,
engineering.
yung
Yeah.
utilities, minsan the client wants way more appliances than what we originally intend or what we initially propose. So I think that's what makes it harder on your end.
Yeah. And then sometimes, if they add so many different types of equipment, kulang yung electrical, so magti-trip yung breaker. So you have to think of all these things to plan it really in advance. It's not just about design. It's really function and design.
Quick question, Modularity Home was founded what year po ulit?
I think around 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Okay, because I wanted to ask, the pandemic happened. So I'm sure you guys have a system in place na and everything. Parang may mga designs na kayo na usually ito ginagamit.
Yeah.
And then nung nagka-pandemic, for sure yung lifestyle
Yeah.
changed, diba?
Correct.
So what changes did you notice nung time na?
I think most of the houses that we do, parang meron 2 kitchens, diba? There's a working kitchen and there's a show kitchen. During the pandemic, like a lot of people who actually got kitchens from us, parang masaya sila kasi now they're actually, cooking. So nagagamit na nila yung show kitchen nila. So parang moving forward, for those who actually learned how to cook, kasi madaming din naman nagluluto eh.
Yeah.
For most of our clients, since we're targeting the high end, parang they have staff. And that's a given na in the Philippines, diba? They're busy. Parang they're professionals, business people. They're always out of the house. But now that they're in the house, parang, and they want to cook. Yun. So syempre, there's more equipment na that we had to integrate into their kitchens. So more burners. In the past, they would only do induction cooktops, but now they want, burners with fire. Which means that we need to incorporate exhaust hoods that are stronger, which means may ducting, may mechanical na yan. So parang there's a lot of things that we had to do during the pandemic that shifted from, face to face. Also, not just about cooking, like since people would hang out in the kitchen more, parang they'd use it as a space talaga. May air conditioning na medyo solid. They'll put entertainment systems na may TV na, may speakers na. So parang it's parang multi-purpose room na talaga.
So it really became like a social gathering space.
Yeah. Correct.
And not just that, parang did you have to start incorporating a lot of ovens and appliances, not just yung pang show. Ang interesting din kasi since more people are at the home, you mentioned na more people use show kitchens. Pero before, what really was the main difference between a service kitchen and a show kitchen?
So I think in the past, even the service kitchen changed. In the past, the service kitchen is tucked in behind the house, sa corner, sa basement, and it was all stainless steel. And the end users never really went into the service kitchen. But now the service kitchen is also used as a working kitchen. It's not a dirty kitchen anymore. So the final customers or the people who actually live in the house would also use the service kitchen. So we'd also have projects na parang Italian din yung service kitchen or yung working kitchen. The main kitchen in the past used to be like a display area lang.
Yun nga.
It wasn't really used, which is bad. Because if you get all this expensive equipment, appliances, and you don't use it, it breaks down. So in the past, it was a display lang. They'd get all these expensive appliances, but they'd never use it. But now it's being used na. So I think that's the main shift in mindset.
So even right now, more people are using the service kitchen. Curious question lang. Since more people are using the service kitchen already, doesn't that already mean it's kind of functioning as,
Parang redundant.
yeah, isn't it like redundant?
The show kitchen is still more beautiful. It's bigger.
Yeah.
It incorporates more island space wherein you can actually have more seating. Parang ganun pa rin. Like now that it's post-pandemic, it's actually going back to what it was pre-pandemic, but it's a combination of both. So parang it's hard not to really parang explain pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic. Parang halo-halo na eh. In effect, people or end users are more involved in the design process now. I don't know if you feel the same way. End users are more involved in the construction now. So parang mas involved na sila. Which means that each house will be even more custom compared to before. Yun yung nakikita ko. So parang the final customers who weren't really as involved before during the design phase, now they're more involved na. They do their own research. They know the brands. They know what equipment they want to put in. So parang iba-iba na eh. It's a good thing, I think, for the industry.
Ang interesting na even the clients themselves, they also use the service kitchen nowadays.
Yeah.
So imbes na one Italian kitchen na pareho na sila.
Dalawa na yung mabibenta namin. Yeah. No, so everyday cooking, they'll do it in the dirty kitchen.
Yeah.
Of course, we're Asians, so we cook really mabaho stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll do it in the dirty kitchen. If it's Western cooking for the night, pasta or just baking or like doing a pizza in the oven, pwede yan sa main kitchen. So parang it depends na on what you're cooking. Then you choose which kitchen to use.
Is there anything specific sa Filipino kitchens that stand out versus
I
other
think,
cultures?
I think yung fact na may dalawang kitchen.
Is that Filipino?
Yeah, that's very...
Or Asian?
Di ko alam kung... Hindi Asian. Like if you go to countries like yung first world, Japan, Hong Kong, diba, Shanghai, you don't see naman big villas that much eh. It's just here, diba, na parang if you see some condos na apartments na dito sa Philippines, meron na 2 kitchens sometimes eh.
Even apartments
may service kitchen and main kitchen eh. So feeling ko it's that's very unique to our specific market that we're trying to target. It's not siguro a Filipino thing, pero it's very unique to the target market that we're working with.
I think it's because we're too hospitable then. So yung kitchen na dapat kitchen, binibigay na rin natin sa visitors natin, anything. So we need a space na mas private. I think that's
we
one
bond
reason.
through food.
Yeah.
So parang kumain ka na ba?
Yeah,
Kain
yeah.
tayo together.
I'm curious, have you consulted with, especially with the designs of the products you're selling, have you consulted parang actual chefs or cooking experts who really know what, o kung ano dapat katabi nitong specific thing, ganun? You guys consult?
We do. Sometimes, we talk to chefs. In Italy, like Scavellini has a collaboration with Chef Carlo Cracco, which is one of the top chefs dun sa Milan. So parang it's a multidisciplinary thing. So sometimes we talk to chefs, sometimes we talk to the architects, designers, industrial designers, sometimes fashion brands. So parang yung attack talaga to create like a unique kitchen is through different types of people. Sometimes they'll also explain, okay, for the house, parang this is the simple version. So sometimes we talk to chefs also.
Going back dun sa Filipino kitchens in general, is there anything specific na nahirapan kayo i-design for Filipinos? Kasi maximalist kasi mga Pinoy. So may oven toaster ka na red, tapos may malaki kang ganitong ano bang appliance na iba din yung kulay. Tapos ang dami nating stuff sa kitchen. So
Tama.
how do you fit yung very sleek na Scavellini herbal cucina sa ganong kaseng lifestyle?
Actually, meron naman tayong models that are actually maximalist.
Oh.
So with Scavellini, parang there's a model called Baltimora. Parang that's a more classical look. We have like industrial ones, like the diesel collaborations. So if you see, sometimes, you can check out the website, or we can send the PDF. But with the diesel collaboration, it's really colorful. So for clients who really want like a red fridge or parang something that pops out, parang we can do that. Pero dumadami na rin yung gusto yung minimalist.
Yeah.
Especially because parang it's a show kitchen which is actually in an open layout. Parang great room na talaga siya. Kitchen, dining, living in one big space. Parang they didn't really want to make it too noisy or too loud. So marami na rin parang minimalist yung aesthetic na hinahanap, which I'm sure you guys have experience with that also. It's actually a challenge sometimes because since we have bigger families, parang they want refrigerators that are really big and sometimes even deep. So kunwari 1 meter in depth niya. Pero yung cabinet is only 600 millimeters deep. So parang laki ng protrusion, di ba?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to work with the architects to actually hide the back of the fridge at the back of the kitchen. So parang if you look at the floor plan, parang nakausli siya sa likod going into another less important room. Yeah, so there are ways to play around with it.
So I think depende rin kasi siya sa demographic eh. So syempre may tiers naman talaga. Yung question ko is, Scavellini and Valcucini both are high-end.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I was curious about what's the difference between the two.
Very good question. To be honest, we've been carrying Scavellini for the longest time and we're very happy with the brand. A lot since we carried Scavellini since before pa. And Scavellini is the biggest. They have 1,000 showrooms in Italy. So it's like sa mga watches siya yung Rolex or sa rubber shoes siya yung Nike. So if you go to Italy, you ask anybody about kitchens, they'll tell you about Scavellini automatically. So because we're the distributors of Scavellini in the Philippines, parang a lot of brands would approach us. Parang, carry nyo rin kami. Parang a lot of brands that are actually available in the market would approach us also. Parang kasi alam nila we're doing well with Scavellini. So after siguro the 8th brand that came to us na kitchen din, Valcucini arrived. And when I looked at the Valcucini catalog and I actually saw the Valcucini kitchens, parang it's really a different type of product.
How so, sir?
Actually, when clients come to visit, it's very apparent. Alam na nila eh. I'll tour you guys after. It's very hard to verbalize it, but to keep it simple, for example, Valcucini is known for glass. It's not, this kitchen is a more traditional Valcucini kitchen. Pero all the kitchens there, na hindi natin pinili for set design, mas glass yan. Mas glass yan. So the countertops are in glass. The doors is also in glass. We have a demo wherein there's a 0.5 kilogram ball where we drop it on the glass. So glass is nice because mas hygienic siya. Like a table like this, which is made out of natural stone, you have to be very, very careful. Kasi kung nag-spill yung wine,
Chemical siya.
absorb siya. You have to treat it talaga, or else it can develop molds underneath or whatever, diba? With glass, it's very hygienic. So that's something different and unique with Valcucini. We'll see a lot of examples in terms of the mechanism also. They make use of the space between the countertop and the overhead cabinet. So
Which one of those brands parang may feature na parang smart features? Kasi uso na rin ngayon yung smart homes eh.
I think yun Valcucini has more of the automated stuff.
Mas high.
More technology. You wave your hand, the door opens. Mga ganyan. Pero it's still parang boils down to function. Hindi lang pa-cool lang. Kasi you see a lot of things na gimmick lang eh. May fridge na kakatukin mo tapos may TV lalabas pa. I mean, I have a 55-inch TV. I don't need a TV on the fridge. Sometimes technology doesn't make sense eh.
Yeah, I agree.
Diba? So we still have to go back to the root or the requirement talaga. Cooking and smart appliances, matagal na yan eh. Like you see a lot of ovens now or even the past 5, 6, 8 years na may smart functions. But it's also about safety eh.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang you can't parang call your oven to turn on and to cook while you're not there. How can you physically put yung lulutuin mo into the oven if you're not there? So it's, I think, part of the allure of cooking also is actually getting your hands dirty and, diba? Like even coffee, people who are into coffee or people who drink, parang they make their own cocktails. Parang it's part of the process. Like pagising ko sa umaga, I make my own coffee. It's part of my parang routine para makameditate ako at hindi ako mag-isip ng trabaho muna. Parang I think it's, parang that's the beauty of having kitchens. It's still the analog stuff. We all love tech, but the kitchens for me is still, you know, parang solemn space to do non-tech stuff.
I understand that. Especially you mentioned kanina, you were talking about yung glass of Valcucine, right? While you're doing like your morning routine, that will kind of get you in the zone. In a way, sensory experience siya. So I guess that's why textures are also important to come into play. Kasi minsan, what most people do who don't really give importance to kitchens is basta kung ano yung meron, tas they put their attention maybe to the living room to buy a really nice couch. Pero kahit tiles na lang yung countertop kasi iniisip nila they treat kitchens as more of like a utility space. Pero for me, as Filipinos, I really also like yung social aspect of cooking and the process of cooking. So I feel like it would be much more enjoyable yung experience of it if yung sensory aspect were taken into consideration.
Yeah, I agree. Also, the investment part of it is important. Kasi, you know, as you said, some people spend money for the furniture. Pero napapalitan naman yan eh. The kitchen is built in. Even if right now you don't cook, but you have a daughter, for example, that's like 10 years old. Malay mo, after 3-4 years, gusto na magluto ng daughter mo. Or son mo, gusto na magluto, diba? So parang it's an investment into the future and it's something that you just don't change just like that. Because if you're gonna renovate the kitchen, you have to move out of the house. Eh.
Is there usually like a moment? Kasi for those of you listening na maybe students, what usually happens when you're kind of choosing a certain supplier to do yung kitchens, the clients usually come in and then what they do is they showcase it in a showroom similar to this. Yung certain designs and finishes that they have available. So yung question ko is, for Valcucine, is there usually like an aha moment for clients na they have preconceived notions of, I don't want glass because of this, gusto ko ng certain material. Pero when they see it in person, parang bigla silang nag-change ng opinions nila.
With Valcucine, the most common naman is the material, diba? Pero with Valcucine, it's the mechanisms that gives that reaction. So you see sometimes if you have overhead cabinets, madaming doors yan, diba? Can go up to 10 doors to open each door. But with Valcucine, we have systems called the New Logica system, the Air Logica system, which basically means it's one whole door up to 4 meters wide. And with one fingertip, you can open it because of the smooth mechanism. So parang yan yung aha moment kasi you can't see that product or that feature in any other brand in the market.
I think it's also nice kasi yung na-realize nila is that the design of the kitchen is with the users in mind talaga, not just yung you're trying to showcase your latest tech or you're trying to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. You're making it so that even the things na hindi naman necessarily makikita by people coming in, you take more importance into how it's going to be used by the people who use it every day.
Yes. Oh. And it's also agnostic when it comes to design. Kasi, we were just in the Milan Fair, Design Week in Italy last April. Parang what they did with the Valcucine showroom, which is like a 2-3 floor showroom, was they hired different architects to dress up the space. So kunwari si Neri and Lyndon Neri, who came here in the Philippines recently. Parang he designed the ground floor space. So they're a firm from Shanghai.
Yeah.
But even their aesthetic, Valcucina was able to integrate into their space with the features that you talk about. Na important not just for the architect but also for the final customers who will actually use the kitchen. So I think yun yung difference ng Valcucina and also Scavolini. Parang they think of the end users talaga. Not just the aesthetic and not just forcing tech into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each detail parang talagang inaaral nila.
Yeah, since you mentioned, Sir Ryan, you collab with architects, designers a lot of the times. Question ko lang is, as a designer then, what is something we usually do wrong when designing kitchens na napapansin nyo?
Parang political yung question.
Di naman.
No hard
Wala namang-
feelings.
Yeah. Just ano we just want to learn din talaga from an expert.
Since we worked with many different kinds of architects and designers from different different sizes din ng firms, iba-iba eh. Like some people would give us freedom to do whatever we want. Blank space. Ito yung space, ito yung layout. You can do whatever you want. In those cases, parang we have a team of actually designers and architects also that works within our company, and they can do it from scratch. Sometimes yung iba naman hybrid, parang this is the peg, and then come up with something let's develop it together, which we also enjoy doing that kasi parang there's a process. The most difficult sometimes is when the architects aren't that specific. And then the final customers parang step into the game and they're not sure what they want naman. Okay lang if the final customer knows what they want. But if they don't know what they want and then the architect also doesn't parang direct them, sometimes the process takes a year before they finalize
Just to develop the
design of a kitchen. We're not talking about the house, kitchen.
Yeah.
And then after they finalize, so there's a lead time, 6 to 8 months. During that lead time, you can't do any changes anymore because Scavolini or Valcucina is building it already or it's being shipped from Italy to Manila. So wala nang changes pwede dyan. But then these customers, sometimes they don't know what they want or they change their mind. Yun yung mahirap. So I appreciate also sometimes when architects already develop the idea or the concept with the customer, especially the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Kasi yung appliances, madali lang naman to plug in and out eh.
Do you prefer if they're more specific?
Yeah,
Or
I think the more specific, the better. Especially when it comes to yun din, appliances, equipment, aesthetic. Diba? Kasi sometimes, I've had an experience wherein mag-asawa sila, we were talking to one, and then the whole process, isa lang kausap namin sa mag-asawa. Then when we installed na, the partner naman said, no, I don't want this color. So parang it's hard to balance it out also. Yeah. So if it's parang may sweet spot siguro at least 1 to 2 months of discussion. I think that's good enough time.
Just in case may nakikinig ngayon sa pod na homeowner tapos hindi rin nila alam kung anong gusto nila. Ano ba yung mga common trends ngayon? We discussed yung glass, that's something new. We discussed yung service kitchen na medyo mas open na. What are other parang design trends sa kitchen?
I see a lot of transitional kitchens now. Meaning, hindi siya sobrang modern, hindi rin siya classic. Parang it's in between. I see a lot of people mix, parang industrial pa din. But not as industrial as it was before na talagang walang ceiling or whatever. Like this showroom, for example, if you go around, you see some spots that are covered, and then you'll see some cement features that are exposed.
Yeah.
So parang you see a lot of these things na it's a more interesting mix rather than just one-dimensional lang. I see a lot of classical houses or even castles in Europe. And then they put a super minimalist kitchen inside. So parang it's a mix na of something old and something super modern.
I guess yung area of where people explore, in my experience at least, is like the finishes or like yung if may showcase silang certain appliances. So even though streamlined yung design nila, there's still like pops of their personality through how the finishes look.
Yeah.
Would you say, sir, na yung pagka-streamline niya is because of they want it to be more functional, or is it just because we're still attracted to yung minimalist na movement?
I think it's not as minimalist na as before lang talaga. Like before kasi white kitchens are were very popular. Like maybe more than 60% of the kitchens that we did was white. And then two materials lang siguro, lacquer finish for the cabinetry and then the stone. Sometimes may konting glass. But now, for the overhead cabinets, see-through glass. So yun yung traditional look. But it still goes back to like open kitchens nowadays. These kitchens that we have, parang they look like furniture. It doesn't really look like kitchens anymore. Parang the designs wherein you fill up a space with cabinets na tad all the way up to the ceiling, parang I don't really recommend it because you need ladders na to go up there. So sometimes it's functionality lang and aesthetic na, you know, when everything is closed and tucked in, it looks really clean. And then you just have cabinets wherein it's accessible. I see a lot of these designs wherein there's open spaces now with open shelving also, but we also cannot overdo it because syempre, if you put like plates and bowls, etc. In the Philippines, it's very dusty. So sometimes konti lang dapat yung display, but it's still, you know, playing around with white space and open spaces to be able to come up with an overall design that looks like a piece of art when it's not in use.
Something I hate, and sorry, mini rant lang, something I hate about parang kitchen designs na nakikita ko. You mentioned yung very tall shelves na hindi na maabot. Ako naman minsan I hate yung bottom, the bottom drawer. Like ako mas prefer ko yung drawers na accessible. Kasi I don't know, ako mismo parang may back problem, so nahirapan akong kunin yung nasa ilalim. Tapos usually kasi yung nasa babang cabinet, nagiging tambakan lang yun ng kung ano, plastic bags or whatever. So ako kunwari, may certain difficulties ako pagdating sa pag-abot ng certain areas sa bahay. Yung Scavallini ba or Valcocine, parang they carry products catered to people who have difficulties.
So I also have back problems. So sometimes I recommend drawers rather than shelves.
Agree.
Diba? Kasi with drawers, parang you pull it out, it comes to you, and then you can easily get the item inside. But if it's a shelf, you have to bend down and actually go inside the cabinet, so it's harder to get the things. But taking it a step further, Scavallini is what they call the utility system for PWD. So there's actually, I haven't really sold that. Matagal na namin kinikerry yan. But then if you're in a wheelchair, for example, parang there's a kitchen that's made and designed for people like that. Meaning the overhead cabinets, when you open the door, you can pull down the carcass. When you pull it down, lahat na access mo na. The cooking area is empty underneath, so that it's like a desk. You can move your wheelchair in, and then you can still cook. Ganon din yung sink area. So Scavallini has a system called the utility system that caters to that market.
I think one thing that's really understated, underappreciated is yung mechanism. Like for the longest time, medyo hati ako sa mechanism, yung mga cabinets na isang press tas gaganon. Medyo ako before, preferred ko yung ako mismo. Kasi nga sabi nga ni Sir Brian, kitchen yung hands-on na parang
The
area.
tactile
So gusto ko, as in gusto ko nagmumove ako and everything. So medyo, tapos yung perception ko of these mechanisms is, madali masira yan kasi ganun. Pero I think now, hindi na sila tulad ng mga iniisip namin before na madaling masira. Ganun.
No, I think with the brands that we carry, they work with different suppliers din. Just like when you buy cars, you actually don't know who the suppliers are of the hinges or all these other mechanisms that they have inside the automobiles. Ganon din sa kitchens. But they work with the best of the best. So for example, before, the push to open mechanism used to be just electronic. Now it's already mechanical. So a drawer, you push it, it opens, And then when you close it, in the past, you push it also to close it. Parang click-click, gaganyan siya. But now, when you push it, it opens mechanically without electronic parts. And then when you close it, you just push it, may soft close mechanism na siya. So parang it's the best of both worlds.
Usually, yung hardware pa naman yung madaling masira.
Yeah,
Kasi
exactly.
that's the one that's
Yeah.
like daily
Yeah.
na piniforce sa mga
Pero ngayon, ang alam ko, parang 100,000, 500,000.
Yeah. So
Really, may
these days.
ganun
Yeah.
May laboratory talaga yung
Yeah.
brands. So parang there's really standards involved. As I said, like all these brands started out as carpenters. Mr. Scavolini, yung carpenter siya noon yung 3 generations ago. But now, since they're a brand already, parang important na yung warranty, yung quality, because or else they won't be able to replicate what they do worldwide.
Something I really appreciate about all that and about you guys in general is the fact that you really take heavy consideration into how it looks.
I
Then.
agree.
Yeah.
Kasi, kumbaga, you're not just designing as kitchen designers or kitchen suppliers. You're also designing with the architect's vision in mind in a way. Kasi as designers, medyo nakaka-frustrate minsan if yung vision of people who are doing like the details, like yung kitchen, are not in alignment with what you want. Like, gusto ko minsan streamlined, or as much as possible, I try to hide the exhaust. I try to hide certain parts of it na utilities na ayaw din namang makita ng client. Minsan, not everyone is as flexible. So, yung few brands that actually do take that into careful consideration, I appreciate. I think that's also because of the fact that you work with a lot of different professions. So you're also kind of taking different sides of it. I also remember you guys have a collaboration with an artist, if I'm not mistaken. I see it right there. Yung Ben Cab na bar, which is weird to me kasi kitchen seems like a super technical.
Parang, I don't know,
Tapos then you bring art into it. For me, I actually think that's because of the fact that you do enjoy conversing with these types of different professions. Which brings me to what I mentioned earlier, yung, I guess, webinar series, which is Mod Talks. So maybe you can explain a bit more on it.
Mod Talks is actually a moniker for Modularity Talks. Diba? So, we heavily respect our industry, specifically architects, interior designers, who I think in the Philippines right now is still underappreciated. Our industry is not that respected as it should be. If we compare our industry in other countries like Australia, the US, in Europe, parang iba pa din eh. We can't charge as high here. Diba? Parang sometimes we want to uplift our industry. So that's why we did Mod Talks. It's multi-purpose. We wanted to promote modularity, our brands that we carry, but at the same time, we wanted to uplift the design community. So I think we had, during COVID time pandemic time, we did all these webinars with maybe 10 different architects or interior designers, each having his or her own personality or aesthetic, and then combining that with what modularity can do to satisfy the aesthetic or the needs of that specific architect or designer. And then it was actually a live telecast. So a lot of people would ask questions there. It was a good forum to converse and to open up the conversation between suppliers, architects, designers, final customers, younger, up-and-coming designers, architects, students. Parang it was a way to uplift the industry as a whole in a very simple way. So it's like our contribution to the industry. We were actually hoping to do it again. And people like Jason, who actually started all this, parang with Babble, with your podcast, parang I think it's a good way talaga to uplift our industry.
They appreciate that part about uplifting kasi when I go online, there's 2 types of content that's parang related to architecture or design. There's the content that you find na sinasabing, yeah, actually, you guys should hire an architect, you guys should do this, consult with a professional, ganun. And credit to the people like sina Slater Young, diba? Sina Oliver Austria. That's really parang bringing our industry closer to the common folk. Pero there's the other side naman are are the influencers na parang, guys, so hindi nyo na kailangan mag-consult sa ganito, ganyan. Bili na lang kayo sa Shopee ng ganito. Parang, so I appreciate and I would hope that more more people talk about our profession sana in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Parang madami kasi gusto DIY diba?
Yeah,
Do it
exactly.
yourself. And I think it's
There's a space for that naman eh.
Oh.
yung
To a
DIY.
degree.
Oo, yeah. Oo.
you know, in the States, meron pa nga what they call the NKBA,
What's
National Kitchen and Bath Association.
Oh.
And then you can get licensed to be an NKBA. I'm a part of that group in California. You can be licensed to become a kitchen designer or a bathroom designer talaga. So parang it's taking it a step further pa. So people study to become architects, interior designers, but some people in the States, they study to become kitchen designers. So hopefully, one day it happens here.
Yeah.
There's no equivalent here
Wala.
of some sort of
The industry,
organization.
I think it's still too young. And medyo divided pa siya. Kasi meron pa carpentry, meron pang, diba, parang brands, meron pa, iba-iba eh. Parang it's too wide open right now. I think what the, architectural groups, yung mga UAP, PIID, parang siguro it starts there. And then hopefully it parang trickles down into what we do. Yeah.
Would you say that's near in the future?
Hindi pa
Or
yata.
parang medyo
Yeah.
along a long line?
Baka matagal pa.
As long as hindi appreciated yung archi design industry.
Yeah.
We're getting there though.
We are, pero
We are.
slowly.
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
Trust. In terms of taking it a step further, parang medyo gusto ko lang mag-backtrack ng konti. Kasi I wanted to talk about the fact na you mentioned your brand is also sourced from Italy, right?
Yes.
And that has to do with the fact na you're trying to make it the highest quality possible. You're trying to provide a certain standard when it comes to design, details, and the materials na you guys use. Pero I also understand yung sentiments ng other people when they say na it might be threatening certain aspects ng local. Especially those who are saying na, love local dapat tayo. We have to accept kung ano yung what we can source locally to uplift our, what's here, our local industry. So I want to ask how you would respond to yung ganong reactions of people na do you guys feel like you're overstepping in a way, or do you make reservations na in a way you're also helping certain aspects ng local industry?
Yeah, I think it's probably the same as other industries. The Philippines is parang still, as compared to more developed countries, medyo bata pa tayo.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang we're still developing our identity when it comes to different industries like cars, for example, or software, or diba? Parang konti pa lang yun locally developed talaga. So how do we get from here to there? Parang we have to take certain steps, diba? So for example, in the car industry, parang we still buy from brands like Toyota and Mercedes-Benz, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But hopefully one day there will be a car brand that will be locally made. In the watch industry, for example, meron ng konting watch brands na dito ginagawa locally. But how did they start? Of course, they reverse engineered probably a Seiko or a Rolex or whatever, diba? Parang these brands, whether it's Valcocines, Cavallini, or Mercedes-Benz or Porsche, Parang they serve as tools for each country or for each community to get from one place to another.
Yeah.
Parang it serves as an inspiration or a motivation also. Even in developed countries, for example, in Germany, Valcucina is popular there. There are German kitchen brands, pero the Germans still buy an Italian brand, Valcucine. The Germans have Mercedes-Benz, but they buy Lamborghini. Parang sometimes you still have to look up to a certain country or a certain company that does things better and accept the fact na, oh, mas okay to ah. But in our industry, it's not as simple as that. We don't sell final products that are packaged already.
I agree.
We have a team of like 20 designers. So in effect, Valcucina provides the tools, but Filipinos develop the final product along with the architects and designers. So like a kitchen that we build using a Valcucina system or a Scavolini system is still designed by Filipinos. In fact, they're impressed with what we do.
Really?
Parang Lego lang yun diba? Lego has like millions of parts. But then there are certain Lego sets that are designed by Filipinos using the Lego system. Sesame Street ba yun is an example. It was designed by a local, like a Filipino guy, submitted to Lego, and then Lego parang made it a product. Pinoy yung nag-design ng Sesame Street na Lego. So it's the same system as that.
It's good that you pointed that out, sir. Kasi I think yung impression talaga of most people, ako din, in a way, I was, of course, I understand that there are Filipino architects or designers that are behind the scenes working with us to design this. Pero I wasn't sure up to what degree yung intervention nila versus where we actually source the material. So it's good to know na these are actually Filipinos or local people behind the scenes. And I think that in a way na-uplift yung industry na yun by putting it alongside yung local brands na merong, for example, you guys have Italian brand designed by Filipino architects versus local brands. In a way, they're also motivated to step up their game.
So one thing I'm noticing lang sa conversations natin is you collab a lot with us designers, tapos you collab with parang artists like Ben Cab.
Do you prefer na there are certain groups talaga established, like segregations between different lifestyles of people? Or
no, I think parang we will probably get there, but we all have to start with our own environment. Like for example, our work environment, right? So as we uplift our own team members, and if other brands, other companies do the same thing, parang as a whole, the industry will be able to realize na okay, the kitchen and bath and closet industry is another parang discipline in itself. And then, as we support architects and designers, I think architects and designers, especially people like Jason, parang they know our value. So parang magandang batuhan siya. It's a healthy working relationship to be able to both parang work together and create better homes and better spaces. Not just externally, kasi I know maganda yung architecture, diba? But also parang the interior side of things should also be appreciated. So I think it's a good parang balance between the two companies and the two industries that are in the market. For us, kasi parang we used to believe that it's a very niche parang segment in the market. But now that it's more commonplace to have like nice brands and kitchens in the houses of the clients, parang we invested in this space here where we are right now, which is Rockwell. Parang plug na rin, but basically this whole area is a new area in Rockwell called Proscenium. There's gonna be the Lopez Museum there, a performance arts theater. Our neighbor is a SOFA, which is a design school. So parang this whole space will be like a arts and design area, wherein people can just walk in and appreciate and understand what we're trying to do for the local industry.
basically you're giving back the ability for the clients and the end users to kind of understand for themselves, not just yung us designers were imposing the design because we believe this is what they want. Right now, we're you guys, and as well as I think optimistic architects and designers are trying to give back yung ability for the client or the end users to decide on what they want. Kasi in the end, sila naman talaga yung nagamit. And I think
parang there's a balance naman, di ba? So, hopefully, as ganun yun parang if the community parang progresses and they become more aware of what's available and what's out there, then it will be easier for all of us din. Diba? Parang they'll respect us also, and they will respect what they want, and they know the brands that are available. Hindi na yan parang nangangapa pa lahat tayo. Ano ba gagawin natin?
So it's all about understanding different aspects of the design process. And I think that's actually a good way to kind of close our conversation. Kasi we were talking about understanding different aspects of design, understanding different tangents of different professions. And now I think, for me at least, I hope for you as well, Izzy, now we were also able to understand your profession in detail more specifically. Instead of just working with them on certain projects, this time we really got to dig deep on how the process really works and yung philosophies behind how everything is made and the decisions that were intentional to kind of create the end product. So with that, I think we can conclude our episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
So if you guys are interested in discovering more about Modularity Home, do you guys have parang online?
Yeah, we at Modularity Home.
Modularity Home.
Yeah.
And then this beautiful space is
at Barchan Manila.
Barchan
Manila.
Yeah, so if you want to join in on conversations like these, head on over to our YouTube Babble Station or Spotify Babble Station, and follow us on Instagram at Babble with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.